a smidge of history before we look at the site, and then we'll connect to Detroit and hear some of the talks that are happening there from some big visionaries in this content area. And then we'll get to hear from some of our makers who are here today as part of kicking that off and starting really our empathy work. All right? Sound good? So just a tiny bit of history. Project Breaker was started in Manhattan by a woman named Juliette LaMontagne. You can see her over there. She has the dashing photo. She is a senior TED fellow, and they take fabulous photos if you're a TED. Yeah. Molly's up there too. There's Molly. Yes. Anyway, Juliette, about 18 months ago, she's a New York City public school teacher, really interesting project-based learning. Through her involvement in TED, got to know a little bit about design thinking and social entrepreneurship and kind of
This is a prototype. We got a little link on the bottom to report bugs. Help us out. If you are just interested in learning more about the kinds of content we're teaching, design process, empathize fieldwork, synthesize, getting to bring your data together, ideate, generating ideas, prototype, building stuff, business modeling, figuring out if it works, pitching, presenting it. You can read about all of these things, you can learn about all these things without being part of the challenge, anybody, anywhere. But to scaffold this 14-day challenge, we've got a schedule. And we're on the first day. Your challenge and visionaries. We're launching the challenge, we're hearing from visionaries. And tomorrow, if you're part of this course, is when you get started on interviewing. So let's see what that looks like. What happens on Thursday, June 20th, when you go to the Empathize Circle? Boom. For each one of these phases, we've got a few different bits. We've got an overview, as in what is this phase in general? What are you doing? Why do you do this? We've got a bit of an introduction from Mariana, one of our coaches, past breaker, and also resources from the D-School and friends of the D-School. Doug Dietz, a friend of the D-School, and some people who aren't necessarily affiliated with the D-School or Breaker, but who made some fabulous content that we wanted to bring in. For example, this is from the MIT Department of Anthropology. Curating content like this and pulling from all over the web, really using the web as our textbook and using these open resources was important to us in making this throughout. We've got some more concrete techniques. So, empathy, like this is interviewing people, but how do you actually do that? We've got method cards from something called the D-School Bootleg, one toolkit, and from another toolkit developed by the design firm Ideal, the HCD, Human-Centered Design Toolkit, and again, some posts from folks who are not necessarily in our network, but that we want to gather from a wider net. And when it's time to get going, your mission. So what do you do? For each one of these, we have steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Find someone to interview. Schedule a time to meet. We're helping you out here. Where can you go? Find a hackerspace, find a makerspace. Here's how we decided who to interview. Kathy, Gabby, Peter. Prepare your interview questions. We've got some sample ones. We've got a template for capturing and recording your notes while you're out there. And finally, go forth and interview. Talk to people. 1, 2, 3, we've got these people here in the room with us right now. If you can't go forth and interview and would rather watch a video, but you can also, since you're here, you can talk to them in person. And once you have done each one of these steps, we have a community platform called Breaker Central, where your stories, findings, and learnings go. So, Breaker Central, the first part of the site is 100% open to the public. Anybody can see it, super open, use this any way you'd like. Breaker Central is behind a password. That's for people who are registered in the course. That's so you can freely share what you're finding, you can share photos, you can share videos, and you can find out from the people in Bucharest, the people in Mexico, the people in Germany, the people in Detroit and New York especially, what it is they're finding out and learning. So, sign me in.
Than that. Any questions?
So can you jump in wherever, or do you have to start at your challenge time?
We recommend that you start at the Your Challenge time because that's where everybody else will be. And it's cool to be able to post and say, hey, I interviewed so-and-so, and you can also see that other people have done interviews. However, if you jump in a week, there's nothing stopping you from adding to the thread that other people have already added to the week.
one of our hypotheses going in, right, we decided, it's kind of arbitrary and part of this prototype, to run the cities at the same time as we're running the global challenge. That's kind of arbitrary, and so it's very likely that it will want to be, not tied in that way, right? It could have much more expansive time frames and different entry points. But we wanted to push that so that we can kind of intensify the potential for collaboration for the teams that are city teams and the global participants that are distributed.
Right.
Is there a crossover between the city teams and the global teams? Like it happens in the corporate world all the time, we have distributed teams and we all get online and we all try to talk or we work offline.
Or possibly do the order of challenge if you haven't already. And since we've already started the conversation, we invite you to speak with one another about what you saw, what you think, how you're processing it all. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes to hear from our presenters. Really cool things and interview them as part of the content on their site. And I was so incredibly inspired by their stories and their perspective on making and manufacturing, and thought it would be so wonderful to have them come down and share with all of you some of the things that they shared with me. And so I've invited them and asked them to sort of share their story, and then we'll have time for you all to ask them some questions about things that you're interested in or inspired by. And also invite you to take the opportunity to either capture in any way you choose. We have some Post-its, which is the East Coast style here, which you can grab and I can pass out as they're talking. Or also to tweet some quotes or things that they say that really stand out to you. Whether you're part of our challenge or not, we invite you to just, capture what you hear and what you think. So on the far right, we have Gabby Hanoun, and he is the owner of Cardoza James Binding, the oldest book binding company in the state of California, and most recently the founder of iDream Case, and they make tablet cases, handmade, handcrafted here in San Francisco. And to his left, we have Kathy Wiley, and she is the founder of Coco Dolce Confections, which is a San Francisco-based confections company, and they are about to celebrate their 10th year.
Woohoo!
And to her left, we have Peter Daring, and he is the founder of Peach Design. And he actually launched a Kickstarter campaign 2 years ago for his current product, the Capture camera clip. And it was actually at that time the second most successful Kickstarter campaign ever, which is really exciting. And in about 2 weeks, he's about to launch his third Kickstarter. So Gabby, if we could just start with you, for you to share what you do, who you are, and sort of your journey, and then we'll just sort of move down.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for having us here. We feel honored, and we really appreciate everybody's work. You guys are awesome. This is great, and I was just talking to one of the lovely ladies. While I was watching the video, I had goosebumps. So this is fantastic. My name is Gabby Hanoun. I'm the owner of Cardoza James Binding. It's a bookbinding company in San Francisco that started in 1958. I've been doing bookbinding for 35 years, and I was fortunate to work at this company for 18 years, and then I was also fortunate to be able to buy the company from my boss 12 years ago. And we started our second company. Since the book binding, most of you know, it's kind of fading away because of the tablets. So, and people, instead of buying a book, they're reading on Kindle. So, same thing with the lawyers. Instead of carrying the closing documents, the 5, 6, 7 pound book, they have it on their laptop. So we had to come up with something to pay the rent and pay the mortgage. I have 2 daughters. My oldest daughter is 24, my youngest one is 19. They're fantastic, smart, God bless them. So we were able to come out with the iDream case business. iDream case is a iPad case, Kindle cases, mini iPad cases that looks like a book. Alicia, can I come there? I'm sorry, the green, the green case. I'm sorry, I should have come prepared like my neighbor. That's right. Yes, thank you very much, I appreciate it. So basically, this is what this is the case, and it looks like a moleskin, which is everybody know about the moleskin. So what we did is figure out a way to store an iPad case inside, and then have a stand case. So this is all bookbinding material. This is all bookbinding art. So what happened here is it's a perfect marriage. That's what I call it. You know, it's between old and new. So I always had a saying that I wasn't a huge tech person. I never liked technology because these guys put us out of the business. So I was like, any tech guy I see, you're my enemy. So, but now, this is what I see. I see it's old with new. So now I say that, okay, I have peace with technology. They are my friends. So we were fortunate to do this. And then also what we do, we make custom binding. I don't know, this is very old. They used to do this type of work in the 1800s. Handmade marble paper made in Florence, Italy by an old man that makes 20 sheets a month. Yes. And then this here is a cowhide leather skin made in Napa. So we're putting this whole thing together, and then what's going inside is tablet that the lawyer can use, the architect can use, the pharmacist can use, everybody can use. So we were fortunate to be able to adopt this type of business. iDream Case is a brand new company, started 2012, November 2012. So now we're in the stage marketing, branding. We see this is a challenge for us and for every brand new company. The product is there, the hard work is there. You need to get the word out, and you need to let people see it, touch it, feel it. And that's where we are. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Whiting. I'm actually a neighbor of Kathy's. We're in the same building, and it's kind of an amazing, creative maker building. The American Industrial Center in San Francisco's Dog Patch area. And I can see that in your window here. So it's pretty cool. What he does on book binding and also on the product is amazing. I started the company 10 years ago, Book It All Fake Confections. Time was just Book It All Fake. And the thing that was fun for me is that I wanted to do a food product. I wanted to be, well, I didn't know what I wanted to be perfectly honest with you. I started a business and then tried to figure out the product. But the fun thing about the product is that not only do I get to be creative on the confection and chocolate end of it, but I really had to make up an entirely new product. You know, I knew that I didn't want to do a standard super sweet bonbon or whatever most people would expect to buy at the time, a box of chocolates, and it would be filled sweet chocolates, right? So I knew I wanted to do something else, so I branded it a tile, topped it with sea salt. But in making a new product, you actually have to create every aspect of it, from the shape of it, the size of it, the mold it's made out of, the packaging, the label, the branding, the name, the marketing. And I would say that was my fun challenge, is I got to do all of that. Albeit every decision you make begets 100 more decisions, but and that's what we do. We started with the tiles. We now have 4 wholesale lines, and we have everything from an olive oil bar with sea salt to spicy peanut brittle to popcorn toffee squares, so it's like a buttery sea salt toffee with popcorn folded into it, and it's covered in bittersweet chocolate. Those are our wholesale lines. Now we're in the process of growing our own line, because obviously that's somewhere where I think growth is able to be and necessary. And I love what I do, and as well as I said, we're in our 10th year and enjoying every second of it. So thanks for having me.
So I'm actually also a neighbor of these two, although I'm tucked away in the former second floor bathroom. Second, third floor, they knocked down the men's and women's, and we've got this great big terracotta floor. Anyhow, it's still a functioning bathroom above, which is great. But, so my name's Peter Daring, and I started my company called Peak Design 3 years ago when I quit my job and said, I'm going to make a widget that I've got hanging around in my head, and had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know that I was doing startup. I didn't know that I guess I knew that I was kind of an entrepreneur, but I was just like, I'm just making a widget. I don't know what's going to become of it. What I was doing is I was solving a problem that I had. I had a camera, not so dissimilar to that right there, which is called an SLR. 2008, I'm on a big trip. I'm taking a break from my job as a construction engineer, which has nothing to do with making products. 4 months on the road with a camera like that, and one of those situations where you want to have your camera with you all the time because you're seeing some crazy things that you're never going to see again in your life. It's a giant pain in the butt. You've got that neck strap. It's your sore. She's holding her camera. I found myself basically one-handed for the entire trip. Not willing to compromise and putting it in the backpack because then you don't take pictures. So anyway, with traveling, you have lots of time to think about things, and so I'm wearing this backpack all the time, and I'm like, why can't I just put my camera here? I know that would be a really stable place to hold it. Why can't I do that? And further to it, I came up with the idea, if I could do that, this is how I would do it. I would take that tripod plate, which most people have on the bottom of their camera anyway, and I'd fit it into a channel and it would lock in place. And that was it. Like that's in 2008, that was the whole idea. I went back to my job as a construction engineer for another year and a half, and started getting antsy, started throwing in some applications, started getting rejected from Stanford's mechanical engineering program. Fortunately, that led me to pursuing this idea, capture full time. And man, that worked out actually. Because through this design process, I came from a place of knowing absolutely nothing about manufacturing. Just generally, these are the shapes that I want, But it took me, 9 months to finalize a design, and throughout that process, it's starting with paper prototypes, and then wood prototypes, and then plastic prototypes, and then starting to talk, having materials discussions, looking at other products in my space, figuring out what these are made of. I'd never heard of die casting. I didn't know what, I knew a little bit about what stamping was, but all these manufacturing processes that I use right now are wire forming, bending, die casting, injection molding. There's a ton of them. Wikipedia is how I learned about these things, and asking people like my friend John and a bunch of other folks that I just knew had some experience with this stuff. And so I cobbled together a product with the help of just asking a lot of people. And at the exact same time, let's say, put it this way, I kind of finished the design, say, okay, you guys go make this thing right now. And they're like, great, it's going to take 4 months for all the tooling to complete and all that stuff. So I went and got a busboy job. And meanwhile, I heard about Kickstarter for the first time. It was just kind of, this was January of 2011. The last 6 months for Kickstarter had really been a ramp-up period. Heard about it 3 times in the same week, and I said, yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. This can launch my product. And so I got canned from that busboy job, and I finally started getting my products in from China, where I was making them. I was actually working with an American contractor. This is another story I'd like to share, who was subcontracting things out in China. And I got the products. I cut a video using my old Dell and Windows Movie Maker 7, some free software, and it worked. People loved it. People had the exact same problem that I was having. The solution had not been created there. They went on there and said, "I'm an engineer," which I was a civil engineer, didn't mean anything, and people were like, "Oh, he must know what he's doing." Or something. I don't know why they bought it, but I think the solution actually presented itself well. And now we've got a product that is, I mean, it's crazy. We go to trade shows right now, and we're kind of, we forged a new world. I've got competitors that didn't I've got competing companies now that didn't exist before. I've got 5 different Chinese counterfeits of my product out in the world, which is a compliment, I think, to the success of it. And most importantly, I've got 7 people who work for me now who are as dedicated as I am. And we came up with some other products that we launched over Christmas, which have been as successful as Capture. And Capture Camera, and we're about to release, this is some deep insider information, we're about to release a version 2, which is, in some senses, it's the same damn thing. But in every other sense, it's just like, oh, they learned something, they know something. Now, this is Pete working from his garage. This is talented people who know what they're doing, who made an awesome product. And I cannot wait to release this on Kickstarter, as Melissa did for us, in a couple of weeks. And bite your tongues, please. So,
What's our insider? What's different?
what's different is that it's, if you just kind of feel this product, right? It's lighter, it's smoother, it doesn't hurt you. This product is literally, I've paid for 3 sets of stitches through customers who have sliced themselves open on this. There have been, we get a lot of compliments on the design of this thing actually. But thank you very much. And I am not the artist behind it. I'm the artist behind that, which is just exactly. Bingo. This product is, why is it so much better? I should be able to answer this question. It's lighter, it's stronger, it's made of better materials, it's got a bunch of safety features in it. Mechanically, we kind of rebuilt everything. It's got a much more elaborate spring mechanism in here, which allows us to tune this spring for feel by having this one spring differently. You guys don't care about this stuff. There's a ton that is good. It's a year and a half worth of probably 40 points of improvement over this one that has gone into this. And I'm hoping that our customer base is going to realize that. I think that they will. But more importantly, we're not messaging this for the 50,000 people that own one of these captures. We're messaging it to the 100 million people that own one of those cameras. And we want to say there's a sweet way to carry your camera out there. And by and large, no one is perfect. We go to a trade show, sure, and we see the same brands there in the camera space, and they've heard of us. But in the world of people who own cameras, there's still almost no one who's heard of us. I feel like this is the biggest thing in the world. And yet you go to a trade show specific to photography people, and like, no, I never heard of that. Who are you? And that's just marketing, and that's a huge, huge challenge, and that will be the challenge later for, I guess.
Can you show us?
Yeah, sure. I ask that you just be cautious with this one. This is the only one that I'm taking photographs with. And then this one's a little more, this is a version 2, which, let me pass around.
Do you have a camera you can show us how it works on your
Oh, right, yeah.
I just haven't seen it.
Demonstration.
Yeah. Is that or is your version 2 stealth?
Version 2 stealth at this
Alright.
point. That'd be bad news. Yeah, so, okay, great. So here's version 1. It's actually funny. When I was making this thing, it wasn't until the wooden prototype that I put it on the belt for the first time. But that's actually since become my favorite place to wear it. So I just go like that, crank it down, and then the camera is wearing tripod plates that we make. And actually, the tripod plate in itself, we make this thing called the dual plate, which fits in a tripod system called Arca Swiss and one called Manfrotto at the same time. And we're the only plate that in and of itself could be a product in a company. So there's a lot of design work, I guess, is the point that goes into these actual tripod plates. So that's it. It's totally locked in there. This is to get people to trust a mechanism like this with $5,000 worth of camera gear is a little bit challenging, especially when you've got a plastic button here, which is the right material choice, but I think that is, an interesting discussion. But we're to this point, I think, where we've got so many testimonials, and the internet has just spoken and said that, yeah, this thing rocks. And so we don't need to speak for ourselves anymore in a lot of ways. Others can. So maybe I'll pass around version 1 as well, just so you can kind of see the evolution. I'm curious to hear, your thoughts on, like, does it appear to you to be the same thing, or this is one of our plays. We make 3 different ones. So yeah, that's what we do.
So we have about 5 or 7 minutes. We'd like to. So from all 3 makers, we have really, really different perspectives here, and I see some of you guys capturing notes. There's a lot of really neat stuff that really pertains to this challenge, identifying some needs in the maker manufacturing space. And so we want to hone in on some of the things that you've heard and probe a little bit deeper by asking some follow-up questions that can bring us along the way on our challenge. So I invite you guys to just share out some questions that you have to any of our makers specifically or to the panel in general.
I'm curious to what degree you guys identify with the other, like, is this a meaningful category? Do you identify with the people talking in Detroit? Does it feel like what they're experiencing is relevant to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I just mentioned earlier, and I had goosebumps. I mean, I felt so warm and so there. And I felt like I was in the room with these people. So I think it's one voice, and it's extremely, extremely important to our future in manufacturing. And I hugely support, and I think we're doing exactly the same thing here with SF Made. I don't know if some of you heard of SF Made. It's the same type of work that what these folks are trying to do in Detroit, Chicago, all over the country. Local manufacturing. It's huge. And I have huge respect for that.
I'm curious what you think the benefits of handmade are, in terms of these cases, so if someone was to build your same case in HS, mass produce it, what would you say the benefits for the consumer, other than the comfort of knowing that you're supporting someone locally, and the idea of craft being supported locally?
Excellent question. And I was going to mention the answer before the question came here. Does that happen? Very good question. Somebody somewhere overseas can exactly make my product or everybody's product. It's easy to duplicate. And this is the point. We go back to the video that we saw. I think in this country, we have serious problems. And earlier somebody mentioned something that was very fascinating, that we all have problems, but we never share it, we never talk about it, we never discuss it. How can we solve it? But we know we have problems. So why should somebody buy an iDream case that is worth $60 where they can buy maybe exactly, not exactly, maybe 80% same case made in Mexico, Thailand, China for $40. There's a principle, I think, here. We all, I think, have to participate. To get this country back on its feet, we have to start supporting local manufacturing. Now, it's going to come down to a cost. For example, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, you never heard that question. Where is this made? You never heard that before. The last 5 pieces, as they mentioned in the video, it is very important. So, if I go to buy, and consumers appreciate it today, than 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. So if I go to buy something, right off the bat, let's say I'm going to buy this camera clip. Okay. To me, I'm a knowledge person. I look at the camera, for example, with my respect to where it's been made. But I don't mind to pay $10 more, $20 more if I find this camera is made in Minnesota, the clip. So people today, all over the country, they're supporting that idea. And they're paying a little bit more. I think we have to all pay from our pocket to get our economy back on track. So that's why supporting local manufacturing is huge. But we're not going to put all the burden on the consumers. I don't want to pay $40 more. But our government has to help us, has to support small businesses, tax write-off, and there's so many things they can do. And they are doing, they start doing it now. See, 10 years ago, it wasn't famous. Local manufacturing was just buried. We were buried. 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, now we start making it happen. We start talking about it. We created SF Made organization that started also in Detroit, by the way. And this is, I think, the message. If we're going to get back on our feet, we have to, all of us, every one of us has to pay the price.
I obviously have a very different business than you do, and each business needs to be taken with respect to itself. And I guess two things. One, I'm not going to tell you exactly how much it costs to make one of these camera gizmos, but I will tell you that it costs 8 times to do it in the United States. 8 times. So let's say it cost me $10 to make it in China. It's going to cost me $80. Now, granted, I might be able to beat that down and get it down to maybe 4x, 6x what it costs to do in China. It's not a business for me if I'm making it in America. It's absolutely not. This is a consumer product which has a price point that people are going to be willing to pay a certain amount. Yes, could it become a luxury good for a certain number of people who own a Hasso cameras? Sure. That's not what we're going for. We're trying to make a product that can be widely adopted by the whole industry. And we're using materials that are die-cast aluminum. These are labor-intensive processes, engineer-intensive processes. So the reason that it's cheaper in China, a lot, yes, the labor, but also because the machines are there, the engineers are there, etc. Basically, in my opinion, with respect to items of mass manufacture like mine, it does not make sense to try to dictate the ways of economics. You have to pay attention to what you're actually making and say, is the economic climate such that I can go to SKS Die Casting in Alameda and make this thing? No, it's not. That's been spoken a long time ago. The only thing they do anymore is projects for the government and a few things for Boeing, because there are the tax write-offs and the incentives, the government mandated programs which allow them to do that. I sound like Ayn Rand right now, which is not. I sound like a lefty, but and I am. But there are some serious realities. And with respect to America's problems and how we're going to solve those things, I like you tremendously off the back end, but I don't agree that things like local manufacturing are going to be the panacea for our society.
Yeah,
I think that
I don't think every product, I do agree with Peter on this one. This type of product is going to be very hard to build here. No,
Sure.
I do agree with you.
Sure.
But a product like ours, it could happen here.
absolutely.
We'll have a
That's why you have to evaluate each case, and obviously food products.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have to worry about that at all.
Right.
For me, it's less about being local, because I'm not going to compete with China, and nobody wants to talk shit for how many months.
Right.
But my challenge is basically the labor in America, because all of our stuff is amazingly labor intensive. We do everything at this level, literally like bowl by bowl by bowl. But it's worth it to me. I think it makes a difference, and I think that people enjoy it. And a certain audience that I'm trying to target, just like all of us as businesses. And I think they see the value in that. So for me, I don't have to worry about that. I do think about it in terms of the materials for my packaging. So, everything I get is local. At some point, will I go to China? I don't know. Maybe depends on the company. But in the end, it's a business, and you're trying to create jobs for the people in your community to the extent that you can create those jobs. And in the end, you have to be a successful business to support those jobs, regardless of, some of the aspects of it. So I think that's the
I just wanted to add, I think you have a great point. As you look at the future of manufacturing, that is one challenge that we need to address at a framework level. That how can you enable businesses here to be globally competitive so that they can get the same price and the quality that they're getting out of Thailand or Hong Kong or China and still compete in the US market, because that's what consumers see, the paying consumers see.
So in the interest of time, we have to cut off the conversation now, but just wanted to say that this is a microcosm of exactly why we think this challenge is so exciting to work on the future of stuff, and we're really, and this is just succeeding it, and this is the kind of investigation you want to do. I feel like there were like 25 or 50 different threads that somebody could pull out and start to think about in the context of the challenge that would be really compelling. So thank you for sharing where you are. We have time to mingle, etc., and have more questions. These guys are also on the Future of Stuff website, graciously, and wanted to flag just a couple of other things. I wanted to mention the assigned reading. It's not a course, but this is a really interesting book, if you haven't read it, that we are all trying to read and think about in the context of the challenge that brings to the fore kind of the questions of the future of manufacturing, the role of digital media and crowdsourcing, etc. So again, a lot of these things are inherent to reading that. If anybody is here who is wanting to fully participate in the challenge as part of the online cohort and you haven't gotten an email, we had a little bit of a glitch with our email send for you to sign up, please see me tonight, and you're welcome to invite other friends to join the course. The Detroit and New York crews are obviously full, but in terms of joining global, we can take some more people.
I just got to tweet, somebody just quit her job to do this. I can't tell if she's going to try to read it.
Awesome.
We also have a product giveaway. So hidden amongst either on the bottom of your stool or I believe under a couch, you may find a post-it with a picture of a prize from any of our food.
We have one prize from each of our food makers.
Whoever can find it gets to keep it.
Oh, yay! You got a camera clip?
All right.
Hey!
Who else found one?
David?
Two more.
Did you find one?
She got it.
What did you get?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
And there's still an iPad case at large. Check under your
Here's Susie.
Oh, it's a present.
Yeah. She found it.
What do you got? Oh, all right. Fantastic.
$10.
Can't believe it.
There you go.
Cute.
You're welcome.
Wait, did you find it?
I did
It's not
that.
the new one. That's all.
Do you have an iPad?
No, I wish for that. I would know.
Anyone find it under your case? Did you find it?
Well, I didn't find it, but it's under my seat.
Yeah, I got to work on the train. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. So this is kind of the end of the formal program. Happy to take your questions on any level. Hashtag is Make or Breaker. Site is futureofstuffchallenge.org. And you can also find it through the K-12 lab, through the B-School, etc. And thank you again to Molly and Melissa and Kiara and Shay. Shay's still here, and Shay. And everybody at the D-School who helped out.
And I just want to say thank you to Sue. I mean, she's been all of us, but she's been our leader, our project leader throughout this whole challenge. And
Yeah, we're just excited for all the learning that's going to happen in the next 14 days.
Detroit. Near Detroit.
So you might even mingle some more, talk about what you heard, drink, eat.
Zoom out and stop by sometimes.
Does it work for a long time?
Close. And so I was like, I even like emailed Julia and I was like, am I gonna do this anymore? Like,
Yeah, so we will have people here. We have this building available for stuff every day. I think there's one Sunday we actually don't come up with solutions, but there's a group of people. Yeah, 5. So you might end up going to work with some of them.